It doesn't start with a rumour. It starts with a photograph, a seemingly ordinary group shot from Northwestern University, from a student salsa club. Everyone's smiling, relaxed, frozen in that moment of carefree college life. And there in the back row is Meghan Markle, blending in like any other student. At first glance, it looks completely normal. Innocent, harmless, just another memory captured on campus. But photographs don't age the way people do. And when you start following the names in that photo forward in time, something strange starts to emerge. The classmates standing next to her didn't end up where her story says they should. Today, many of those same students are in their early to mid-50s. Their records, graduation dates, career timelines, and archived profiles all point to birth dates in the early 1970s. That puts them roughly 8 to 10 years older than Meghan Markle's official age. And that's when the math stops making sense. For this photo to line up with the ages we've been given, Meghan would have had to be a freshman or sophomore surrounded almost entirely by students approaching 30. Not one or two older students, which can happen occasionally. Not a handful of transfer or returning students, but the majority of them. In a traditional undergraduate program, that's highly unusual. Rare, even. It doesn't just happen by accident, so the real question isn't sensational. It's simple. How does a 22-year-old end up consistently surrounded by classmates nearly a decade older? If it were just a single photo, maybe you could shrug it off. Colleges are full of unconventional paths. People take gap years. People return to school after years in the workforce. People transfer or take breaks. That happens, but this isn't a one-off. The same names, the same classmates keep popping up again and again across different events, different group photos, different years. It creates a pattern, a timeline that doesn't quite line up with the story we've been told. And when you start looking closely, the gaps, the inconsistencies, the timing, it all raises questions that a single snapshot could never answer. What looks innocent at first glance suddenly becomes a puzzle. And when you try to solve it, you realise the story is far more complicated than just a happy moment at a university salsa club. It starts quietly, not with a rumour, but with alumni newsletters, event programmes and photographs. Meghan Markle appears again and again alongside the same circle of students in multiple campus activities. Different events, different years, but the same group. This wasn't a brief overlap, it was sustained proximity. The people around her weren't just passing through, they were her peer group. They moved through the same years, attended the same functions, and appeared in the same records. When you trace those classmates forward to reunions today, the contrast is impossible to ignore. This isn't about how old someone looks, it's about when their lives started. Many of these students finished high school in the late 1980s. Their timelines are fixed, their adult years already begun, and yet they cluster around her, moving through college together. At some point, coincidence stops being convincing. If Meghan Markle wasn't merely adjacent to older students, but socially aligned with them over time, the question changes. It's no longer, why are they old? It becomes, why was she there? On paper, Meghan's biography is clean. High school graduation in 1999, Northwestern in 2003, birth year 1981. Alone, it flows. Nothing looks out of place. But timelines don't exist in isolation. They exist alongside others. And when hers is placed next to her classmates, something has to give. Their high school diplomas date nearly a decade earlier. Their adult years started sooner. Yet she met them not as mentors or outliers, but as peers. That tension creates a fracture. Either an entire social group formed around someone significantly younger, year after year, or the timeline we've been given is compressed. Dates don't argue. They don't adjust themselves to fit a story. When multiple timelines intersect and don't align, someone isn't standing in the right year. And that's where the story truly begins. Not with an accusation, but with a crack in the official version. From here, every detail either repairs that fracture or widens it. And quietly, another layer emerges. For years, alternative birth years have circulated alongside Meghan's official biography. Not shouted, not hidden, Persistent, resurfacing again and again. The most common place is her birth in 1977. Others suggest 1976, some even 1975. The key isn't which date is correct. It's that these years cluster tightly together. They don't leap across decades. They don't contradict each other. They suggest she may be several years older than officially stated. These dates appear in old programs, alumni records, and documents that don't line up neatly with the polished biography that came later. None of them stand alone. That's important. False information tends to collapse under its own weight. It fades. It contradicts itself. This didn't for nearly a decade. These alternative years have quietly resurfaced, coexisting alongside the official version never confirmed, never fully erased. At some point, persistence becomes a signal. Even one earlier date being accurate opens a 4 to 6 year gap years before Northwestern, before acting credits, before a carefully shaped public identity. Missing years matter, not because they imply wrongdoing, but because they exist outside the narrative we've been shown in industries built on image. Age isn't just a number. It shapes opportunities, perception, and marketability. When a life becomes a brand, timelines become assets, and assets are managed. So the question isn't why someone might compress a few years, why those years were never fully explained. Gaps don't accuse, they invite attention. Every public figure has a past. Old photos, yearbooks, memories tucked away in archives. But with Meghan, these memories surface unevenly, in waves, often timed perfectly. A senior portrait from 1999, a campus group photo, polished, clean, framed for publication. On their own, they mean little. Timing gives them weight. Some images come from alumni archives. Others emerge years later from classmates who suddenly release them when scrutiny rises. To a casual observer, it looks like nostalgia. To anyone watching closely, it feels deliberate. Not fake, not fabricated, just selected. Because when a story is under pressure, the past doesn't always emerge naturally. It's sometimes placed exactly where it's needed. By now, this isn't just about whether Meghan Markle is older than her official biography suggests. It's about what happens when a life is transformed into a carefully managed narrative. Timelines are smoothed, photos appear strategically, records adjust quietly, gaps remain unexplained. None of this proves deception, but together, it forms a pattern. Edits, omissions, coincidences stacking neatly, not randomly, but purposefully. The documents still exist. The photographs still sit in archives, and the people who knew the earlier chapters are still out there, often silent. Maybe the official version is true, maybe it isn't. But one thing is certain, the tighter a story is controlled, the more it invites curiosity. Every life has a first draft, and sometimes the most revealing version isn't the one published, it's the one we were never meant to read. The next time the past resurfaces perfectly in sync with the present, remember this: stories don't just tell us what happened, they tell us what someone wants us to see, and sometimes what's missing speaks the loudest of all.